as we've seen several times over the last decade, that every single ammo shortage begins with a primer shortage. And that's what we're beginning to deal with right now. Because if you reload at all, you are struggling to find primers. And it's always begins with a particular size. And right now what we're seeing is it's shotgun load primers. They're almost impossible to find. And this is really how it begins, because it's not like it's easier to make other primers than shotgun loads. It just always starts with one of them. And like we saw back in 2017, it was the 22 LR. But now what we're seeing is it's going to be the shotgun loads. And that's how it all begins. But I kind of want to go back to this idea that it's not one particular type of primer is harder to make or anything like that. It's the raw material issue. That is the problem that we really have not recovered from since 2019. Because when it comes to the raw material that it takes to make primers in the United States, most of that is possessed by the federal government. And if the ammo companies have much of it at all, it's to make government ammo. It's not to make civilian ammo. And you might say, well, that's okay because we can get our primers from Europe. Well, guess what? All of the raw material for primers in Europe are also going to the government to ultimately make much larger rounds, the 110 millimeter shells that are being used in war efforts in Europe. So I just want to kind of send this out there that this is how it begins. You know, I've been saying that the government is saying they're running out of ammo for the last year. It's not that they're trying to hide it. It's well known. Everybody knows that. And now what we're seeing is the primers they kind of showed up for a little bit and now they're disappearing again. And it really all begins with one particular type, and it's beginning with the shotgun loads. And it's just going to move on to the others, because again, it's not that shotgun loads primers are harder to make. It's the same thing. It takes the exact same raw material to make a shotgun primer that it does that 110 millimeter shell primer. It's no different. It's the same thing. Just obviously the 110 millimeter shells are much larger primers, and they use much more of that raw material. So my recommendation is, if you haven't stocked up, which most people have, but if you haven't, begin to stock up, because especially on that shotgun rounds, because that's how it all begins, is when there's one certain type of primer to find that's hard to find, then soon they all become hard to find, unless there's not a war effort and unless there's not a mass group of people going to panic buy ammo. You take those two things out of the equation, well, then you're back in 2017, where they just had to recover slowly like they did with the rimfire. But this is not going to be a slow recovery. As a matter of fact, I don't predict, when this begins, I don't predict any kind of recovery anytime in the next several years, because of the war efforts over in Europe. So there you go. Any insights you might have on this, especially if you're finding primers. If you're finding them easy to find, definitely put that below, because you're the only one that I'm aware of, especially those shotgun loads. Again, put that below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. I do want to take a moment. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. The most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, so please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.